I'm a divorce coach for men, so I get to talk to a lot of guys who have really taken pride in their role in the family as provider, as protector. They've filled those roles so beautifully, really taking care of their families, of their wives, and yet they find themselves going through an unwanted divorce. And it's tragic. Often this is 18 years, 25 years, 35, 45 years of marriage ending in this divorce, and the guys are left blindsided, bewildered. I was a good provider. I did my job. Why do women leave men who are good providers and good protectors? In this video, I'm going to offer you an explanation, an insight into how women are thinking and feeling that leads them to make this choice that seems just totally ridiculous. But before I tell you about that, I'd like to just point something out. And this is really important for you to see if you want to get any benefit out of this video. When you are going through something like an unwanted divorce, it's very distressing. I don't have to tell you that. It is painful, it's upsetting. It also triggers a fight or flight response. It's scary. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know what we're going to lose. You're in pain that maybe you don't know how to deal with. The future is really unclear or maybe impossible to even see right now. So the nervous system it's jacked up, it's activated. You're in fight or flight. And when any human being goes into fight or flight, it changes our focus, it changes the way we see things. And it changes our focus in a few ways, but one that's really important for this conversation is it makes us more self-centered. If our life is in danger, we better be thinking about me, right? If a lion is attacking me, I better not be thinking about my husband or my kids or my work, because if I am, and I'm not just focused on my survival, I'm probably gonna get eaten. So it's a natural response in the human brain that when we're in fight or flight, we become more self-centered. And when we become more self-centered, we see everything through the lens of me. And it feels like everything is happening to me and everything is about me or is my fault. And so I bring this up because a lot of men going through an unwanted divorce who were great providers or protectors think that their wives are doing this to them and that it's because of something they did or didn't do. Now, sometimes that is an element of it. Usually it is some element of it. And in some of my other videos, I talk about emotional availability and emotional safety and how that can play a role in divorce. But there's some other things going on that actually have nothing to do with you at all. That's what we're going to talk about in this video, the things that are going on inside a woman, inside of her brain, that would make her walk away from a great protector and provider that are not about him. And it might be hard for your brain to accept this as I'm saying it if you're in fight or flight. Because if you're in that fight or flight response, your brain's going to be filtering everything through a lens of you, and it's going to have a hard time believing that something she's doing that's having such an impact on you might not be about you at all. So I just want to offer that. If that's how you're feeling, take some deep breaths, do some of the emotional regulation work, see if you can get your nervous system to feel just a little bit more grounded in this moment as we go into the rest of this video. All right, so you've got a guy who's doing his job. He's making the money. He's providing a beautiful house. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to who are like, look at her life. She doesn't have to work. She drinks wine with her girlfriends. She works out. She goes to lunch. She goes shopping. Why the heck would she leave? Like, I have done my protector provider bit to the nth degree. I have sacrificed. I have worked so hard. Why on earth would anyone walk away from this? And so I'd like to invite you to take a step back and just consider, yes, women and men have differences. There's differences in the way we process information. There's a lot of different social messaging, cultural messaging that we receive. But at the end of the day, we are human. Men and women, we are human beings. And there are some basic common needs within a human brain for us to feel happy, fulfilled, and satisfied with our lives. So Dr. Paul Conti is a pretty well-known psychiatrist you may have heard of. And he spent a lot of years working with people who've been through a lot of different traumatic experiences and trying to understand what are those essential ingredients for human happiness, for satisfaction. The two that he names are agency and gratitude. There's a third that a lot of people include, which would be purpose, a sense of purpose. Women aren't different, you guys. We also need a sense of agency in our lives. Agency means that I feel like I have control over what happens to me. I have a say in what happens next in my life. We need a sense of purpose. Right? Purpose is the sense that there's a reason I'm here. I'm doing something meaningful. I'm leaving a meaningful mark. I'm having a positive impact. I'm making a change in the world. There's a dynamic that happens in a lot of relationships. It's actually true in my own marriage, and I can maybe share a little of that with you guys today. A lot of times, women are attracted to that provider, that protector, the man who is further along, more successful in life than they are. In the beginning of that relationship, there's this dynamic, right? You're the provider, you're the protector. She needs your protection, she needs your provision. And that role between the two of you might work for a little while or for a long while. But she's not going to stay the same. She's not going to be that young woman forever. And as she goes through her life, she's going to find that she wants agency. She wants purpose. She wants to feel like she's doing something meaningful. And so as that starts to develop for her, and she starts looking for ways to do that, a lot of times that relationship is a real hindrance. Because how can you be the protector and the provider if the person you're supposed to protect and provide for doesn't need you to do those things? And so when you have a relationship that's founded on these roles that you're both supposed to be in, there's not a lot of room for her to change or grow or find her agency or find her purpose. And sadly, this is where a lot of divorces happen. I talk to a lot of guys who are like, I worked so hard and I helped put her through school. And then once she got her career going, all of a sudden we're getting divorced, right? Like she's just become this amazing, self-sufficient, independent woman. And now she doesn't want to be married to me anymore. What's going on here? What I can tell you is that this transition is not easy for either person in a couple. My husband is quite a bit older than me. He's 14 years older than me. I met him when I was 24. I was in my first year of veterinary school and I didn't like it and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. He was 38. He had his second very successful restaurant that he was running and about to sell. He had a vision for where his future was going to be. He wanted to retire young and move to Mexico and have this whole life. And so when we met, he was making a lot more money than I was. He had a lot more vision. He was making a lot of the decisions in our relationship. And I won't tell you the entire story. There were a lot of ups and downs. We made some bad decisions. We lost a fair amount of money. Things have changed. And at this point in our relationship, I'm the one who's making significantly more money. And at this moment, I'm the one who has a career that I absolutely love and adore and am fulfilled by. So there's a lot that's happened in that shift. But I can tell you it hasn't been easy for either one of us. And honestly, it wasn't easy for me when I was younger, being in that role of the one who was provided for and protected. I think we all think it sounds nice, right? Who doesn't want to just go shopping and eat lunch and drink wine with the girlfriends and work out? But think about it for a moment. What if you were the one in that position? What if she was the one who was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, who was making money, who was providing the beautiful house and the nice car, and she was like, oh, honey, just go golfing and hang out with the boys and drink beer and watch sports. Like, yeah, it'd be fun for a little bit. But eventually, I think you'd find that there was something lacking, something missing. Your sense of agency, of control, being the one who's in the driver's seat of your life, a sense of purpose and meaning. Right? We're all human. We all have these needs. But what happens in a relationship when one person's identity is caught up in being the provider and the protector? Right? If that's the role you're in and I start stepping into my independence, that's a threat to your identity. Right? And that can be really hard. I know it's been challenging for my husband. He's had to really reckon with his identity in our marriage and in our relationship in order to be supportive and loving towards me and not feel resentful or hurt in some way or even emasculated as I've become more successful in my career. Right? That's hard, right? That's been an identity confrontation he's had to go through because of the changes I'm making because we're in a relationship together. And I've had to make them too. And I can see very clearly why so many relationships fall apart here, because it requires both people to be flexible in their sense of who they are, what their role is in this partnership, in this marriage that we have together. We're growing and we're changing. But if either one of us is holding like it's a life raft to that identity, to the way we see ourselves in the relationship, well, there's no room for the other person to change or grow. So I think this is often something that happens, that leads to divorce, especially when a man is a great protector and provider, because women are human too. And we too need agency and a sense of purpose in our lives in order to really feel happy, fulfilled, and satisfied with our life. And I hope none of this is coming off as blame on either party here. You know, a lot of men are in the difficult position of having really been strongly conditioned since childhood to be the protector, to be the provider. And if they don't have that role, they don't really know who they are, right? And that's really shaky ground. It's really scary. It's a hard thing to confront. And a lot of women are struggling as they step into the sense of agency and purpose. You know, a lot of women have this story that they're already doing so many things, taking care of so many things at home, and they have this expectation of themselves to be like a certain kind of wife or mother or homemaker, and at the same time, this desire for success and agency and maybe meaning or purpose or a career of their own. And so they put an immense amount of pressure on themselves. And whether there's actual external pressure or not, that internal pressure can create a lot of pain and suffering. And often a lot of women don't know how to talk about that or communicate about it. So there's a lot of complexity into how this plays out. But at the root, it's because many relationships start where the man is the protector and the provider. And as beautiful and nice and sacrificing and supportive as that is, sometimes it doesn't leave a lot of room for a woman to find her agency or the meaning or purpose in her life. And as those changes come up, it really takes a lot of consciousness and intention and willingness to work from both sides to stay together, to change and grow together, and to start to shift those identity roles. The last thing I'll say on this topic is agency and gratitude and purpose are important for you right now. If you're a man going through a divorce, especially a divorce you didn't want, you probably feel the loss of agency, the loss of control around what happens to you next. Finding small ways to reconnect that sense of agency, little things, choosing what you do today, what you eat, where you go, connecting to a sense of purpose, finding meaning in your life, especially if your job was to be protector and provider and a good husband. You need to find meaning and purpose too. These are such key ingredients for both happiness, but also emotional resilience. When we have that sense of agency and are connected to a greater purpose and meaning in our lives, we can weather the punches and the pain a lot more easily. But a lot of times those feelings have become dependent on this marriage and on the role that we were playing in the marriage. So if you're going through this and you're struggling, I would strongly encourage you to spend some time thinking about what you want your meaning to be, what you want your purpose to be, and how you can start to take back a little agency in your day-to-day life. If you want to learn more about that agency and gratitude and purpose, there's a wonderful interview that Andrew Huberman does with Dr. Paul Conti. So you can catch that here. I would strongly recommend, if this topic is interesting to you, to go on and listen to that interview. They get really deep into this. I think it's like a 2 or 3 hour video, but it's awesome. And I think it will give you some real tools to support yourself in finding agency and happiness and gratitude through this incredibly difficult experience. And it may also help you understand your ex-wife a little better as well. All right, thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys in the next video.